for me. I'm polishing this turd every day and that's a nice feeling. Hello all, first of all you'll probably see that once again I've sneaked into someone else's room because clearly it is a lot prettier, lighter and nicer than my room, which is still an absolute pit of doom and probably worthy of getting in the, what do you call it, pest control or something like that. It is grim. Anyway, so another one of these chatty videos. I'm sorry if I bore you senseless in these videos, but sometimes a girl needs a good old rant. This isn't really a rant, but it is thinking about our flaws. And first of all, before anyone kind of nitpicks the my wording of this, when I say flaw, I'm fully aware that a flaw is very a personal and subjective thing. Like a flaw to one person will actually be something amazing to someone else, and what I see as a flaw in myself on someone else, I probably love it. You know, we beat ourselves up about things, but on someone else we tell them that that's great about them. And I also firmly believe that imperfections and so-called flaws are integral to being a human, and every single human on this planet has them. And quite often these little imperfections, flaws, things that aren't quite normal are the things that make someone unique or interesting or cute or quirky, and sometimes the things that they hate about themselves are sometimes my favourite things about them. So now I've got that out the way, this video is about me really talking about how I think we're all a work in progress and how that's actually a great thing. We're always striving for this perfection and stuff, but one, that's not achievable, and two, what then once you've reached this perfection, which isn't possible, what is there left to do? Surely the quest for all these things is what makes life what it is and makes life interesting and fun, and you know, hitting those achievements on the way and finding the new targets and new things that you need to work on. So I'll touch upon my superficial so-called flaws first, but I don't want to dwell on them too much because actually I think the inner stuff is the stuff that we should be working on a bit more probably. So in terms of my bodily facial flaws, there are many. I'm sure you all can pick out a gazillion things that you don't like about yourself or wish were different. For me, I've always hated the fact that I've got really knobbly knees, like they've almost got a face on them, they're that knobbly. I've got really floppy inner thighs. They're literally squidgy, like, almost like those, no, what are they like? What's really squidgy? Well, quite like jelly, they do wobble a bit like that. And I used to be really self-conscious about them because no matter how thin I got or how fit I got, they would always remain wobbly. And yeah, so I hated them. But every boyfriend I've had, which isn't that many, but they've always loved that squidgy bit and they'd always like squidging it because it's kind of like a stress ball. And so I've learnt to kind of live with that and almost like it because I know that it gives someone some pleasure, so it can't be that bad. And I also have this feeling that, you know, if I'm really annoyed with something, then I should try and do something about it. And the fact of the matter is, I don't exercise at all and I eat awful food, like full of fat and sugar, lots of fizzy drinks, which are all known to be bad for things like that. So I figure I don't really have a right to moan because I could be doing a lot about it. So that's why I don't, you know, worry too much about those wobbly bits, because if I was really that worried, I'd be hitting that gym, wouldn't I? I've also always had problematic skin, so I've always been self-conscious of that, and when I don't have makeup on, you can see kind of the humps and bumps and the discoloration from the scarring. And close up, if I was to come to the camera, maybe this camera's not good enough, but I've got like pock marks, you know, like indents into the skin. They're not horrendous, but at times they've been worse than others and I've been self-conscious of those. I've always got a ring of fat around my belly button, like a little donut that surrounds it. But like I said, if I was that fussed, I would stop eating so much crap and I would be doing some sit-ups, but I'm not. I used to hate the fact that I was quite hippie, like I go in and then I go out, I've got the childbearing hips. Used to hate that, but there's not much you can do about hips. You can wear clothes that kind of either complement them or kind of mask them a bit, but hips are bones. Unless I get some sort of file there, they're not going to go down, so it's much better to just embrace those sorts of things. I've got quite crooked teeth on the bottom, but I didn't have a brace, so again, that's my laziness, isn't it? I used to be a bit conscious because I'm quite hairy on the arms for a blondie. Like when it's winter and these aren't bleached blonde, they're quite lengthy and quite noticeable. But I'm not going to start shaving them because I'm sure I'll regret that. So look, I could go on. Girls and boys, you know that when it comes to your own beauty or appearance or whatever, you can list so many things that you wish were different or were like someone else's. But I don't want to go into that too much because this isn't really a video about the superficial. I hate the culture of magazines kind of pinpointing these flaws, so-called flaws anyway, on celebrities, like whether it be cellulite, whether it be, I don't know, stretch marks, whether it be, I don't know, thinning hair, whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is we can't help but look. Well, a lot of us can't. We go to those articles and I don't think it's because we're horrible people or that we're glad that they are struggling with the same things we are, but it does give us comfort that, you know, they are human after all. You know, they're not the perfect glossy photoshopped images we see in the magazines, and I think that is good for us to know, and we kind of like to see that and see images that remind us of that. But I don't think it is a good thing for magazines to highlight things and kind of make them out to be flaws when in fact they are just reality, they are normal, they are what most of us have. Anyway, that's a huge topic that needs a whole 3-hour video in itself, so I'm not going to go down that route anyway. So now I want to talk about the inward flaws, the things that I know need some improving, and they are a work in progress, and I'm constantly finding new things that I need to work on, and maybe other things that I've rectified as well. So things, I think when it comes to physical stuff, we are quite critical of ourselves, and we're often aware of things that we don't like about our physical self and our outward self. But I think with our personality traits and things we could work on in terms of the inside stuff, quite often that is brought to our attention by someone else, whether it be an ex-boyfriend that used to bring it up all the time if you had a fight, or whether it's your current partner who says they hate it when you do blah blah blah. Perhaps it's a friend you've fallen out with who, when you're having that argument, said, and you're always like this and you do that, blah blah blah. Perhaps your parents, who are known for their power to be extremely brutal and honest, tell you this about yourself. And quite often I find these are things that you realise in hindsight when you look back on situations that you've got yourself into, or when you look back on past relationships and try and work out why they didn't work, then you realise, well, perhaps it's because I was doing that, or I did too much of that, whatever. For me, the things that I've been made aware of or have noticed from hindsight and looking back on past relationships are the following things. I remember when my ex said something just a little bit critical about me. It wasn't like a hugely awful thing, but he observed that I did something. I'd react really badly to him voicing this criticism. I didn't like hearing things negative about me. I got extremely hurt, and I realised from that I was extremely oversensitive to things, and I'd let them get me down, even though to that person they were just a fleeting passing comment and they wouldn't have ever wanted me to take them to heart. But because I was so sensitive, it would really affect me and then affect the time we spent together and the future, because it would be something that I kept bringing up because I was so hurt by that comment. And I realised, this was a few years ago with a past relationship, I realised now that, you know, relationships, you have to be honest with each other and feel that you can be honest with each other and not be completely devastated by what they might have to say if in fact it is a fair comment and they're not saying it to be unkind, they're saying it to make you aware of perhaps something that you're doing repeatedly or a behaviour that you have. Actually, I think thinking about it, his criticism was that I was too sensitive to criticism. I think that in itself says it all, doesn't it? That I couldn't cope with that, but now I am aware of it, and I'm, in a way, I think YouTube and kind of the culture of the internet has made me a bit more tough to it. Don't get me wrong, I still get really sad when someone says something horrible and I happen to translate it on Google Translate or I see it on a social media, but I think I don't let it bog me down as much as it used to. I can let it go a bit quicker. And talking about letting things go, that's another one of my flaws, my issues. I used to let things kind of drag me down for a while. If something bad happened to me, I don't know, my mind would take me there really regularly, or I'd dwell on it or wallow in it for far too long, which is not productive, not helpful, and it's not nice for other people to be around. It's a very hard pattern to get out of, but I have realised that I do it, and I do, when I realise that I'm doing it, I do try to, you know, have a calm moment, refer back to the mindfulness video, think, okay, I know that I'm doing this, let's pause and put that to the side. All these are ongoing things and it's not easy, but at least you're trying, and that's something, isn't it? I am really a very messy person, which obviously it's fine if you live on your own because it's your space. If you want it to be messy, that's your prerogative, and if you want to live in a pigsty, well, just oink away, that's fine. But when you're at uni and you're sharing houses and communal spaces, or if you're thinking about setting up a home with your partner, this can be a bit of a scary flaw for someone to have. And I'm trying to work on it, but I've got to say this is one I'm finding particularly hard, because I say it's because I've just got too much stuff and not enough storage space or my own space, but I don't know. I think I don't know what I can do. If anyone's got tips on how to just become a naturally tidier person, help me. I've managed to spread myself now. I have my old bedroom, which is now kind of my dressing room and just general mess room. I have my bedroom, all the cupboards are filled and the floor, and then I've moved some stuff into my brother's old bedroom now as well. So, and that's not taking in the loft. Oh God, it is a nightmare. Anyway, so that is really a work in progress, and that's something I'm still having to work on, because every partner I've had has said, what are you going to be like when we eventually get our place together? Are you going to look after it, or is it going to be a mess? And I've always said that if it's my place, I'll have pride in it and I'll want to look after it, but I do worry about it. Oh, I think I've got some of my lunch still around my chops. Oh no, and it's halfway through the video. In the past, I have been an absolute doormat. I try my best to be kind of a nice and kind person as best I can. But obviously there are some, like I said, there's some bad eggs in the world, and they seek out these kind of soft people, potentially vulnerable people, and they take advantage of that. And I think in the past I've let people do that, particularly one ex who just treated me so unbelievably bad. when I think back, I think, how on earth did I allow that to happen? How did I let someone speak to me like that and treat me like that? It's just boggling. But when you're in that situation, oh, I don't know, it just takes over, I guess. But yeah, so I've ended up doing stuff that I don't want to do, that I don't like doing, going places I don't like all the time, or spending time with people I don't like just because I didn't feel I could stand up for myself or say what I really felt. Because I have found, if you're known for being quite a gentle kind of soft person, if you do decide, okay, I'm going to take a stand, suddenly people say, oh, what's happened to her? She used to be nice. Or, oh, what's got up her nose? Or, you've changed. And you're like, no, I'm just doing what I should have always done, and that's stand up for myself and do what I believe is right. So that has been probably one of my biggest issues, and that's something that I'm still working on. I think I do lay the smack down now and again. I am trying to be a bit more, I guess, thick-skinned and tough, and a bit more, what's the word, ballsy, but it doesn't come natural, so that's a toughie one. I don't do exercise, and that's something I should really be doing. I think because I've got chronic fatigue syndrome, it's very easy for me to go, well, I'm just too tired to do that, and I am too tired to do it. But sometimes you've got to force yourself to do things to make yourself better, and I think I do need to try a little harder. I know Simon keeps begging me to like work on my core a bit more in my arms, because I really struggle with my arms because they're so weak. And he says, just come for a run with me next time. So I might try that. But yeah, it's the last thing you feel like doing when you're as tired as I am. But I am going to endeavour to try and work on that a bit more, even if it's just a fast walk, a bit more, doing a fast walk a few times a week, or just getting out and doing something sporty just once a week, something like that. This thing was something that was brought up when I fell out with an old friend. We never ended up making up because she actually, I realised after the argument she wasn't someone I wanted in my life, sadly. You know, some people just bring stress and they don't bring anything positive. I actually, in hindsight, I think that argument was a blessing in disguise, because it has actually been easier without her in my life. And that's something about growing up, you know. People come in and out of your life, and it's working out which ones you should try and stay, you know, keep hold of, and ones you should let go. And I'm glad I let this one go. But anyway, during our argument, she pointed out that I like to wallow in my self-pity a bit too much. And that's a horrible thing to hear, but she was probably right to an extent. At that point in my life, I was extremely depressed and low and was going through something pretty terrible. But I didn't probably deal with it in the most positive way or the best ways, and I did tend to let it take over everything. And I think, although at the time I didn't see any other way around it, in hindsight probably there was a better way of dealing with things and sorting things out, and not letting it govern everything at that point. And I don't think I am so self-pitying now. That obviously we all have those days where we're like, oh, everything's crap, I hate my life, I look gross, I don't have a boyfriend, don't have a job, I hate my job, don't have any money. Those days, we all have those, and I've had quite a few lately, so maybe I do need to work on this a bit more. But on the whole, I do think that I'm aware a bit more that I'm generally quite a lucky person when you compare to what could be going on, and I think I'm less moany, maybe, I guess. If you follow my Twitter, you probably disagree with that, because I'm a right moany mini on there, but we need somewhere to vent, don't we? I'm often told that I'm too laid back. Now, I don't know whether I agree this is a flaw or not, because I see some people get stressed about things. I just think, what is the point? For instance, when we were on holiday, we had a really awful meal, to be honest, and the person I was with got really angry about it, really cross, and was in a mood for the rest of the evening. And I just said, look, we're on holiday. Yes, that's a bad meal, but it's done now. Let's just go out and get a nice pudding somewhere and we'll have a nice meal tomorrow. I didn't let it get to me, and they were just like, what, you know, you should be so furious. But I just thought, what is the point? And I have this kind of approach to a lot of things, that there's some things you can't help, and some things just happen, some things just suck, and there really is no point getting in a right Barney about it or kicking off, because it's a waste of your energy, and I'd much rather just kind of move on and get on with some positive stuff instead. But I guess you're just naturally inclined to be a certain type of person. But I think my laid back nature is also annoying for some. I don't know, maybe for some being laid back equals boring. I don't know. You have to ask someone else why being laid back's a flaw. I don't know. I still work hard, so I think I can be the opposite of laid back when needs be. I did used to be quite bad at holding grudges. That was a flaw of mine. If someone had done something to upset me or upset one of my friends, then I would feel like quite about them for a while. But I think as you get older, you get a bit more philosophical about things. You know, everything happens for a reason, and you realise that people are going through their own stuff, and quite often there's something else going on, and reasons why people behave like they do. So I think I've become a bit more laid back about that over the years, but that was another flaw I had. Oversharing, I guess some people would think that's a flaw of mine, because sometimes the stuff I say is not very attractive. It's quite off-putting, it's very unsexy, very uncool, and I know some people would see that as a flaw. Perhaps I could dampen it down a little bit, but I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm a jealous type, particularly in relationships. I don't really get jealous in that way. I'm quite chilled and like everyone to just do what they want. I like them to have their independence and hang out with friends and that sort of stuff. But I think I do get jealous of other people if they're doing something that I wish I was doing. I know you should just be happy for people and support people, but sometimes the little green-eyed monster does make an appearance, and that's something that I've got to keep an eye on, because it's not that I'm usually not angry at them for it. I'm just like wishing that I could have that opportunity, or wishing that I was in their position. I don't ever have like ill feeling towards them. I'm just yeah, just I guess jealous, which is probably a natural instinct to have. But yeah, that's probably something, another flaw that I could work on as well. God, I could go on. I think I've given way too many flaws. You're gonna think I'm a horrible person. Basically, with this video, I don't want us to dwell on the things that are bad about our personalities or bad about our physical appearance. I just wanted to point out that, you know, everyone's got room for improvement, things we can work on, and that's actually a great thing, because it gives us drive, it gives us ambition, it gives us things to work on. For me, I'm polishing this turd every day, and that's a nice feeling. I'm sure there's a better of an analogy than that somewhere. I also want to say that as well as acknowledging what our flaws or imperfections are, or the things that we can work on, I think we should also acknowledge the things that we're doing well, the things that are good about ourselves. I don't know about you, but I'm someone that beats myself up about things all the time. If I see a picture of me, I'll be like, oh, I look like an idiot, or I hate that, or why did I do that, or look at the size of that, oh. Rather than going, oh, my arm looks good in that, or that mole looks nice there, or whatever. I don't give myself a pat on the back if I've done something well in work, or I've done something nice in life or whatever. And I think that's probably the same for a lot of you. We're very quick to concentrate on the stuff we've done wrong or done bad or are not good at or don't like the look of, but not so good at, you know, saying, ah, you're all right today, or well done, you did good there. And so, as well as telling you guys, work on the things that you can work on and make yourself the best human you can be, I also want to say, realise that you've got some pretty awesome qualities about you, and make sure you recognise them. And you don't have to do it loudly, but give yourself a little pat on the back there and say, you know, yeah, it's not all bad. God, I sound like the worst motivational coach type person ever. I hope you get the gist of what I'm trying to say with this video. We're all flawed, we've all got imperfections, but imperfections can be wicked. So keep on working on yourselves.